What's up everyone, it's United Weather here, and in today's video we're going to be giving you guys an update on the Atlantic hurricane season, where we do have an area to watch here in the Gulf of Mexico that is expected to bring some tropical storm, maybe even hurricane conditions to parts of Texas, maybe even Louisiana over the next week. So we're going to be going over all the latest information on that, taking a look at the models, and letting you guys know what you can expect with this system. Now, taking a look at the latest National Hurricane Center outlook here, you can see we do have this orange area in the Gulf of Mexico, and over the next 2 days it has a 40% chance of development, and over the next week it has a 60% chance of development. We also have this area here out in the open Atlantic. I'm not expecting much with this storm. It's probably not even going to develop, but if it does, most likely will be curving out to sea. Obviously the main point of emphasis in this video is going to be this system down here in the Gulf of Mexico, which again is probably going to be bringing some dangerous tropical storm, maybe even hurricane impacts to Texas over the next week. So taking a look now at the latest GFS model, as you can see, we do have this low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico right now. This has been kind of sitting over the Gulf of Mexico for the past week. I'm sure if you live along the Gulf Coast, you have been feeling the effects of this. It's been bringing some pretty heavy rain, a lot of moisture, and just overall some unsettled weather over the past week. And that's not really going to change over the next week. So if you live along the Gulf Coast, definitely don't expect a break anytime soon from this. And if we move forward here a little bit, you can see by 24 hours it kind of gets more broad, and the reason for that is, if you guys do remember, last week we had that area of interest in the Caribbean that kind of went to the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's going to turn north now into the Gulf of Mexico. And what's going to happen here is these two systems are going to kind of merge together. So there is going to be a brief period where this system weakens a little bit over the next day or two. After that, 24-hour period, it is expected to strengthen here. As you can see, this is by Tuesday. We have what looks to be tropical depression developing here in the southern Gulf of Mexico. And this is kind of going to just hug the coast as it continues to move north and develop over the next few days. And now you can see by Wednesday, it is what looks to be a weak Category 1 hurricane. And it's going to continue to strengthen here as it moves off to the northeast. And you can see Thursday, right here on Thursday, right before it makes landfall on what looks to be Louisiana or Texas. Again, this is only one model solution, so it's not 100% going to make landfall where this model is showing, but this is a strong Category 1, maybe even a weak Category 2 hurricane here, making landfall in Louisiana. And most of the other forecast models are in agreement on this with some sort of system. I'd say the weakest we're going to get right now is looking like a tropical storm. Probably the strongest you could get is a Category 2, but do keep in mind the waters in the Gulf of Mexico right here, right off the coast of Texas, are very, very warm. And the reason we haven't seen that low pressure system that's been hanging out there over the past week develop is because of that wind shear. However, this week the wind shear is forecasted to kind of weaken, so there's not going to be much shear to tear this system apart as it tries to develop and get organized over the next week. And that's why we could see some rapid intensification here as it moves to the north over the next week. Now, of course, the wind is going to be a pretty big issue with this storm. Strong Category 1 hurricane, that's close to 90-mile-per-hour winds. But another big issue with this storm, unfortunately, is going to be the flooding. As I previously mentioned, this area over the past week has been seeing a lot of heavy rain, a lot of unsettled weather, and if we move ahead here, at least on the GFS model, you can see this is an additional almost 15 inches of rain being dumped here on the coast of Louisiana and the coast of Texas. So up to a foot of rain is possible with this system. And this is up to next Friday. So over the next week, and you can see how, kind of quickly this piles up here. You can see, Wednesday night, there's nothing really there. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get a foot of rain dumped on you. So flooding is definitely going to be a big problem here, especially along coastal areas, as you also get that storm surge piled up here on the coast of Louisiana. So while the wind is going to be a pretty big issue, of course, with a hurricane, the rain is really going to be an issue as well. So kind of a dual threat system here. So definitely not a good look if you were on the coast of Louisiana or Texas. But do keep in mind, again, this is 4 days away. There is still time for this to change. However, I would not be surprised to see this trend even further up, especially with those record warm temperatures you have over the Gulf of Mexico. This tends to be kind of a sneaky spot for these storms to develop here right off the coast. These storms can definitely overperform what the models are showing in terms of intensity. So we definitely want to be mindful of that if you were along the coast here of Louisiana or Texas. Now, taking a look at another forecast model here, this is the European model. It does have I'm going to say similar solution to the GFS. It's just really a lot weaker. So again, you can see kind of has the same general idea. It shifts off to the south, kind of redevelops into this big storm, but it doesn't really get above, this looks like tropical depression strength, really. One thing you can see here is there is a lot of rain with this system. So flooding is going to be a definite threat here, especially along the coast. The question here is really going to be how much the storm can develop. Keep in mind this European model run is from last night. The updated run for today hasn't come out yet. So by the time I post this video, the new run could come out and be in agreement with the GFS in terms of intensity. But in terms of rainfall, you can see it is pretty much in agreement with the GFS here. This is almost a foot of rain here piling up along the coast over the next week. And it's in a much more widespread area too, which would probably happen if this is a less organized system and it's kind of more spread out. You could see this rain falling in a much more widespread area along the Gulf Coast here. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But definitely flooding right now is the top concern along the coast. Again, there is some confidence. Confidence is increasing. You could see this develop into a tropical storm, but I'm not going to say it's 100% set in stone yet. There is some disagreement still on the models with that. Now, finally, for the last model I'm going to be showing this video, this is the Canadian model. So we showed the American model, or the GFS model, which shows a strong Category 1, weak Category 2 hurricane making landfall right in between Louisiana and Texas. We showed the European model, which shows kind of a more disorganized, widespread event with flooding being the main impact. And here is the Canadian model, which is kind of a compromise between the two. Move ahead here again, you can see it moves off to the south. This is Monday. And by Wednesday, it starts to move to the north again. This by now would be a weak hurricane, and it continues to kind of sit off the coast, eventually moving northeast over Texas as kind of a medium strength hurricane, 990 millibars here. That would still be a hurricane to keep in mind. So again, a compromise of the European and the American model. So again, there is a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of intensity with the different models here. So do be aware of that as you go over the next few days. I'm not saying 100% a hurricane is going to make landfall here. It could be a tropical depression, a tropical storm, or it could be even stronger than that. The waters here off in the Gulf of Mexico are very warm, so I wouldn't rule anything out here, especially in this area here in the western Gulf of Mexico. If you are in this area, I would suggest getting your daily updates on the National Hurricane Center. I will leave a link to their website in the description. They put out a few outlooks every day to update you guys on the storm. I will be trying to post an update video on this probably on Monday or Tuesday. And by then we should have either a named storm or at least a potential tropical cyclone by then, at least from what the models are showing. So we should have a better idea of that. So with that being said, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe and peace out.